when the hero, whoever the hero is, first encounters the great dragon of chaos, he either runs away or is paralyzed by fright. The world in itself is a complex array of patterns, and those patterns manifest themselves in space and they manifest themselves in time. And I think the best way to get a grip on what those patterns might be like is to think of them in terms of music. And I think that's what music represents. Music is this complex, three-dimensional structure full of interwoven patterns of different dimensions and length that expends itself over time. And if you listen to a piece of music, you can concentrate on one instrument or another, or you can concentrate on a phrase, or you can concentrate on the entire melody or the voice. You can parse out different elements from the complex background. And that's especially the case with very sophisticated orchestral music, right? Which is susceptible to multiple reinterpretations and multiple encounters because of its complexity. And this is to say only that what you look at is far more complicated than what you see, or to say alternatively that there's more information in anything you perceive than you could ever get complete access to. And that's partly because your perceptual systems delude you. So we think you look with your eyes or with your other senses, but that's only true when you're looking at what you already know what to look at, right? When you've already built perceptual machinery that enables you to detect a particular object. But when you're looking at what you don't know what to look at, the way you look is by getting nervous, right? It's not precisely a perceptual function. It's something much more deeper and primordial than that. And it's more like, oh no, something that I cannot categorize either perceptually or cognitively, something that I do not know how to respond to, has just occurred. And the first categorization is this. That's it. There's nothing under that. It's merely fear plus heightened attention. And that prepares the ground for constructing a more detailed representation. But that first encounter, that's the encounter with the dragon of chaos. So then you take this figure, the source of all things, the Tao in some ways, and you say, well, how does it manifest itself? And the answer to that is something like this. And we see this both in the Mesopotamian and the Egyptian myths that I described to you. The first division of the great dragon of chaos, or the primordial egg, is always into two subordinate elements, the great father and the great mother. Why is that? Well, it's illustrative of the fundamental binary nature of existence, I guess. Partly you could say, if you're a cognizant being, a defined, delimited being, what you perceive always has a binary structure. There's the aspect of you that's structured enough to allow the perceiving. That's what you know. That's the manner in which you're structured, so that you can even formulate a perception, something a child builds up over time from the primordial aspects, say, of his visual system or his auditory system, learns to parse up the world by generating machinery that allows the complex patterns that make up the world to be turned into objects. So there's the structure that allows the perceiving, and then there's the thing that's being perceived, or the thing behind that. And this is a very complicated distinction. You'd say, well, what's the difference between the dragon of chaos, say, the representation of the cosmos as such, and the great mother? And I would say it's something like this. The unknown that appears in relationship to a perceiver is different than the unknown as such. So I would say this, for example: there are going to be things that surprise you that wouldn't surprise me, and vice versa. And the things that would surprise you have to be construed in relationship to what you already know. Because you're only going to be surprised by things you don't know. And likewise for me, I'm only going to be surprised by things I don't know. But what we know is going to vary somewhat. So the unknown for you is going to be different than the unknown for me. And the Great Mother is a representation of the unknown for you, or the unknown for me. Different for everyone in some sense, because we're all going to be stymied and stopped by different aspects of being, but the same as well, in that when you encounter things you don't understand and you encounter things you don't understand, in many, many ways, you're going to react to those different things the same way. And I can give you a narrative illustration of this. King Arthur's knights, they sit around the round table. They're all equals. That's why they sit around a round table, right? They have a king. The king determines their destinies like Marduk does, but they're still all equal. They determine they're going to go look for the Holy Grail, which is a symbol of redemption. So they're off to find the highest value, like Pinocchio wishing on a star. Highest value. And they all enter the forest to begin their quest, but they each enter it at the place that appears darkest to each of them, right? So that means they all go in different directions, even though they're on the same quest, and theoretically they're inhabiting the same space. So it's only to say that every person has their demons, so to speak, and that those demons differ from person to person, even though there are things you can say about the demons that are common across people. So we know, for example, from clinical work, from endless clinical work, that if you want to help someone, you identify, okay, what do you want to do? They need to know that, right? That's this. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What kind of structure do you want to impose on your world? And then you identify, okay, well, what things are stopping you? So then you look back at the Sumerian creation myth and you think, well, there's Apsu, right? God of the known, Tiamat's consort, right? Culture. But there's also Marduk, and Marduk is the power, the spirit, the entity, representation of the Sumerian savior, who goes out to confront this and to make the world. Well, that's what you teach people in behavior therapy. You teach them not so much that. You don't teach them habituation. You don't teach them to get used to things that they're afraid of. You teach them that there's something within them that can respond to the things that they're afraid of that's of as great a magnitude as the fears themselves.